y'all, welcome back to my channel. I've been out for a while, if you hadn't noticed, but I'm back and I had to take a little break. I started last year with all of the best intentions. I did really good in maintaining my level of motivation and my output for several months, but then things happened and I fell off. So this year, my goal is to try to find ways to stay motivated and stay productive so that I can accomplish my goals and meet my own expectations throughout the year. So let's get into what happened last year and how I plan to do things differently this year. So you may be wondering what actually happened and what prevented me from being able to post for the past several months. So this is what happened. About a year ago, Corey and I invested in an investment property. Initially, we were very excited. This was a new adventure for us, something that we have not done before, and we had the highest expectations of that project. And you'll be able to see what all happened on the other channel, on my DIY channel, but the property needed some renovations, and so we hired a contractor. And this person came recommended by our real estate agent. We thought this was someone that would be trustworthy. To our major disappointment, he turned out to not be. So that situation that became initially a project full of hope and promise became almost like a nightmare. In trying to deal with the contractor and dealing with him caused major delays. That kind of shifted my focus because, as you know, I am a full-time therapist. That's my day job. And that job in itself is very demanding at times. The goal and my intentions for last year was to try to create more work-life balance between my day job, my content creation, and my DIY projects, but also my personal life in terms of fostering positive and healthy relationships. I would say in general, I did really good in some areas and not so good in others. But by the end of the year, it's almost like everything kind of fell apart except for my day job. I have not had any issues in that area, probably because I've been doing it for so long. It's almost like second nature. And plus, I mean, we got to keep the lights on, so that's kind of like a non-negotiable. But that investment property started to suck in and occupy so much time and energy that basically all the other things fell off. All the content creation, eventually even like the relationship pieces of it. I didn't have time to do things with people, and the property sucked up everything else. Mental health professionals, we're still humans, we're still people. So that situation caused a lot of different emotions throughout the year. So it started off really happy and excited, and then it became really frustrating. There was some anger built into there from having to deal with this contractor who was not handling his business correctly. Eventually it became a kind of overwhelming anxiety kind of piece as the financial strain started to show up towards the end of the year. That's why I haven't been here. That's what I've been doing. We are getting to the end of that process now, and so I'm starting to feel more back like my normal self in terms of emotionally. I feel more calm and relaxed, starting to feel more motivated, but I want to keep this level of motivation that I have. I want to keep that going and actually build on that, and so that is where I am. Now, one of the things that actually got in the way was the way that I was coping with all of that chaos that was going on. One of the main coping strategies for a lot of people is procrastination. So when we think about procrastination, a lot of people have a misconception that it just means that you're lazy and you're not motivated and you don't want to do things, but that's actually not what it is. Procrastination is a way of coping with unpleasant emotions that are caused by whatever the task is that you have. And so throughout the process of working with this property, I have been filming. I filmed almost everything. So there's months of footage to be processed that I'll be sharing on my other channel. Because there were so many different emotions wrapped up into that project, thinking about processing that footage caused another set of emotions to be attached to it. So there's the one set of emotions attached to the actual project and the actual experience, and then there's a second set of emotions attached to the idea of being like reliving that again and going through it again in the form of processing the footage. And so a common way of coping is procrastination. That is avoidance. In my opinion, it's like the number one coping strategy for people. When something is uncomfortable, our natural instinct is to avoid it and stay away from it. And so I think that is actually what happened for me in terms of content creation. It was just kind of like, okay, I'm working because I'm filming and I'm documenting everything. But the idea of going back, looking at it, processing it, editing it was like overwhelming, especially with the amount of footage I have. And so it was just like, well, I'll just do it later. And then later became several months later. So procrastination is a coping strategy, but in the short term, you get that instant relief because it's like, well, if I decide not to do it today, then my anxiety goes down and I can move on to other things. But in the long run, it's like I'm not meeting my goals and expectations, and I'm not being as productive as I want. It's putting me further and further behind. And I think at this point, maybe YouTube doesn't even know who I am anymore because it's been so long, but that's neither here nor there. Anxiety is something that I think we all struggle with at times, but in the moment it seems like a good idea, but in actuality is actually not helping anything and possibly causing more harm than good. So we got to switch that up. That, for me, 2025, that is no longer an option. So the turning point for me was when we had already taken over the project. We had already cut ties with the contractor several months ago, and we decided to take over the project ourselves. And it became like a never-ending thing to the point we were like, okay, this has to stop. We have to finish. So basically everything else got shut down until we finished, and we decided to put the house on the market. And then, because I think I pushed myself so hard to finish, I think I made myself vulnerable. Obviously, it's flu season, COVID is still out there, and now there's something else going around, RSV or something like that. But I think that I pushed myself, not getting the proper rest, not really taking care of my body, to the point where immediately after we put the house on the market, I got sick. Not like sick, but I think I had the flu or something like that. Whatever this thing is that's going around, Corey and I got it. That was kind of my sign of, okay, gotta do something different. Plus, I've been thinking about getting back to YouTube and back to my content creation, because that is one of my coping strategies as well, one of the productive ones anyway, is to do my DIY projects. I share more of like practical tips and things like that on this channel. And I also document some different things in my life in terms of vlogging and stuff like that on this channel. And I enjoy doing it. You can't do all the things great all the time. And if you're doing great in one area, usually something else is getting left behind, which that's the challenge. That's the challenge for me in terms of being able to change the trajectory this year to be able to have more balance and to be able to do more things and execute at the level I want to, but do it in a way that's doable actually for me, to where I'm able to do these things but not have to sacrifice all other things. So on my day job, I've been thriving. I even won an award. I won Practitioner of the Year in 2024, which was amazing. But then also when I got sick at the end of the year, it was kind of like, okay, something has to give. So I decided to turn things around and try to get back to executing my intentions more effectively. That is where problem solving and stress management had to come into play. So what I had to do was really sit down, take a minute, process through, and come up with a plan of what to do. I was feeling kind of unmotivated as far as the content creation goes, because again, a lot of the footage that I have to process is connected with this property that's been total chaos. And so the idea and the thought of going back through that was kind of overwhelming. I had to get organized and figure out a plan of attack, and I've done that. So that has helped me kind of organize mentally as well. And I have my organization systems in my office that I can use to stay on track and not be overwhelmed by it. Do it in a way that makes sense, but that also allows time to do other things and focus on other things like relationships and self-care and wellness and all the other stuff that's important to be able to do all the things all the time. So that's where we are in terms of the turning point for me was when I got sick with the flu, and it was just kind of like everything had to shut down, like everything. That kind of gave me a little reset. So how am I going to stay focused for 2025 and avoid this situation happening again? Number one is I have gotten organized again. I think that was the piece that messed me up last year, because at the beginning of the year I was super organized, and you guys know consistency can be hard. And so I started off the year really organized and structured. I used a planner. I was like writing in it every day. I was even like making little journal entries on some days and making a to-do list and all the things. At that point though, we had a contractor that we thought was taking care of the other property when he was not. Once we realized that relationship was not going to work, everything fell apart. It's like all the organization went out the window. It's like everything just like stopped. Put your head down, go become a contractor, basically. The lesson learned in that is that whatever endeavor I'm doing, organization cannot be sacrificed. Another thing that I'm going to do is to make sure that I'm setting good goals. I need to make sure my goals are realistic and achievable, and that I'm not trying to do too much. I tend to put a lot on myself in terms of my own expectations, and my expectations need to be realistic. That's something that I'm doing, is to try to set things up in a way that I can be successful without having to sacrifice things in other areas. So on this channel, for example, instead of pressuring myself to try to post every week, I'll be posting every other week. On my other channel, I will still try to post weekly, but because I have so much footage to process, I'm going to focus on processing through that footage while also working on other DIY projects, so that by the time that footage is processed, I have other footage that I have filmed and have been working on. And so hopefully what my plan is to try to get ahead of the schedule. That will take some of the pressure off of feeling like I have to film, edit, and post this video this week. And I'm always like kicking the can down the road. Hopefully I can use catastrophe from last year to help push me forward and ensure that I have a more relaxed and successful year this year in terms of my content creation. Also, I need to get back into my routine. So I'm thinking through like morning routine, scheduling, and how to execute all of this in a realistic way. Again, without having to sacrifice all the other things. So I will be utilizing the morning time for more of the brain work. The hands-on stuff will be done, nights and weekends. And I will be including in that self-care, because I cannot do all the things if I'm not taking care of myself. Another thing I need to do this year is to have some kind of way of holding myself accountable. Something different this year that I'm going to be using is a calendar that shows the entire year. One of the things that helps with motivation is to be able to track your progress. And if you can see it in a visual form, then that kind of motivates you to want to do that thing more, so you can see more of the progress. So that's why if you have a daily task and you have some kind of way to kind of do a checklist of daily tasks every day, then you can look at the whole month and you see a check every month. It's like, okay, yeah, I'm doing a good job. That's kind of like a way of self-motivation. That calendar will specifically be used to track posts that have been done, as well as upcoming projects and upcoming posts. Also, I feel accountable to you guys in the sense of not just falling off the planet, because you guys have been really good to me. This is also a relationship that I want to foster and build on. And so I will be trying to hold myself accountable in terms of communicating better with you guys. The last thing that I'm going to be using to try to stay motivated is trying to focus more on self-care. Again, at the beginning of the year, of last year, I did better, but as the year went, self-care kind of started going out the window. And by the end of the year, I was so broke down and tired. It was like, okay, you don't have a choice at this point. You're gonna have to stop. My body made me, because I got sick, so I didn't have a choice. And at that point, it was just kind of like, why do I have to get to that point to be able to pay attention? I don't want to get back to that point. So I will be working on building self-care strategies into my routine. I do want to strengthen my body, improve my flexibility, and work on my stamina. I want to increase my energy level. So there's lots of areas of improvement, and as a therapist, I know all the things that I need to be doing. It's just execution and consistency is where that could be better. This year, that's my goal, is execution and consistency needs to improve so that I'm able to meet my goals and fulfill all of the intentions that I have for myself this year. So long story short, 2024 started off with a lot of promise and kind of slowly went downhill in some areas. The goal for 2025 is the opposite. So we're starting here where we are, and the goal is to trend up with balance. There are lots of things that I'm planning to do differently in terms of organization, time management, self-care, and just focusing on prioritizing the things that are most important. The goal is this time next year to have a whole different story to tell about 2025. The plan has been made, all of the organization has been worked out, and we are set up for success. So the only thing I need to do is execute and stay consistent. And that is my goal. And with your encouragement and feedback, I think we can do this. I thank you all for being patient. I thank you all for so much support. You guys are awesome. And keep it coming, because we all need it, okay? So like the video if you like the video. Subscribe and hit the bell notification so you don't miss an episode. Again, on this channel, my plan is to post every other week, and if I can throw an extra one in there, maybe a vlog or something like that, I'll be adding some additional in. If you have any thoughts, comments, or questions, leave them in the comments. Also, if you have any suggestions on future topics that you would like to hear about, leave that in the comments as well. I do read all of the comments, and they are very much appreciated. And as always, fear nothing, assume nothing, and take nothing for granted. All right, y'all, go be great.